When I was a child, I used to see repetitive nightmares, and I didn't really understand what it was at first. I was like, okay, maybe I'm scared of, whatever a child would be scared of, just monsters and etc. But then as I grew up, I understood that those things are much more deeper than just imaginative, non-existent creatures. It was more a representation of how I felt inside. So for example, I had this dream when I was young, and I still remember, and I can feel, how it felt, the nightmare. It was like, I think 2 weeks or maybe a week of the same dream, and I just entered this house, and then this creature would come across me, and I would just wake up from being, super stressed. And now I know that it was not about the monster, but it was about me feeling unsafe in my house, because the whole entering a house and being chased by someone makes so much sense now, because that's how I lived in my house as well. It was like a representation. And now I'm more interested in really getting deep into my world, and by understanding what my dreams mean. And now that I have a diagnosis, I can understand myself much better. When I didn't know I had PTSD and I would see nightmares, I would really try to, make sense of it by saying, yeah, I ate this because of this. But it's not about that. It's more about when you see a dream, it's trying to teach you something. If it's not trying to teach you something, it's trying to show you where your attention must flow, And with me, I think it's more complex for me because of PTSD, but at the same time, it just comes from the same source. When I first started having PTSD nightmares, I would always see apocalyptic situations, I have this very vivid memory of this dream, of this nightmare, where I was on a balcony and the world died in front of my eyes. I was in the middle, so there were people fighting, and on the left side, on the right side, and then on the right side it was the same thing, and I was in the middle watching from above, watching humanity die, And I saw humanity die, and then I went on a bike and left. And then I was like, okay, this is it, I guess. I'm escaping. No, then I had to kill my own father. Yeah, and the concept was that humanity was dying because there was like a virus that made everyone bad people. Like, it made them, into very aggressive people who would force everyone to steal, force everyone to kill each other or do really bad stuff. And I had to pretend like I was one of them. Like, I was one of them in order to survive,
Shit.
Yeah, so they put me under a test. They were like, okay, we're going to this child park where they had children, and they were like, okay, I remember I saw a twin, so there were two siblings, they were twins. And the leader of the bad group, they were like, okay, kill the twin, And I was inside, I was like, I can't do it, I don't want to do it. But I knew it was me or her. So I went up to her and I was like, to one of the twins, and I was like, go escape, like, you can't do this. And they gave me the gun, and I was like, no, I cannot do this. So I woke up, and I remember this so clearly. I even remember the angles, the visuals, the everything. And I think there are some dreams that I cannot forget. And I see nightmares every night, It's been 2 years of seeing every night a nightmare. And now, since I don't reject them, it's clearer, and often I don't remember anymore. Like, often I wake up and I'm like, okay, because now I have a different relationship. That's another topic, but that specific nightmare really showed how I stand in my familiar relationships, how I see my parents, how I feel about my parents, how I feel about the world, how I position myself in the world, like being on the balcony and seeing humanity die. It's not just that. It's, it's a lot of things. It's spiritual in many ways. And I learned a lot from that dream, but at the time I really didn't. Now I can see it, but at the time I was like, what is happening? And now I changed my relationship with my nightmares, because now I know that I can control them. Not always though, not all the time. It really depends on what I did the night before, like if I smoked too much or drank, or like if I closed my inner chakras, whatever you want to call it, then I have no control over it. And sometimes
that's interesting to know.
Also, like when often I cannot wake up in the morning, and I didn't understand why for a long time. And recently I realized I cannot wake up in the morning because I do wake up early, but then I'm not satisfied with what I saw in my dreams. So I go back and continue and change the narrative of the dream, So it's maybe a bit creepy for people who don't know, but it's something that you can really do if you focus on it. And since my entire life has been like the last 3 years of my life has been nightmares, now I can understand that you can go there and be like, no. And when you do that, you also wake up really tired, because it takes a lot of energy to change narrative, and especially change narrative about yourself. And the more I do the work in real life, the more I'm more connected with myself in my dreams. You can really change the relationship with yourself through your nightmares or your dreams.
And you were saying you have a ring, which is your reality check?
Yeah, so I have a pinky ring that my friend gave me, and I was just wearing it because I was like, this is cool. And then I met this girl who also used to have PTSD, and we really got along well. She had like similar traumas to mine, and she told me she had a pinky ring. I was like, oh, you have one too? She's like, yeah, it's my totem. I fall asleep with it, and if I feel like I'm not sure if it's a dream, if it's reality, I just check my pinky, and I know if it's not there, it's a dream.
I love it.
And I started doing it. At first I was like, what? How can you even do that? And I started to accept that. I said, okay, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, but let's see, And then I was open to it, and then now I think most of the time I can control.
Congrats.
Yes.
Damn. I made it.
Yeah, it's actually super powerful, especially looking back. The way I first saw my nightmares, it was super scary. I would wake up crying. I would see so many things that I should never see, repetitive, traumatic stuff. And I was rejecting it, and now I'm like, okay, it's a gift in a way. Like some people don't remember their dreams. That's nothing bad, but I feel like the dream is the key to the other world in a way,
It's considered as an alternative reality since you spend a third of your life there.
Yeah, definitely. Honestly, I wish people talked about this more, especially with people with PTSD, because with PTSD, I think one of the worst parts of the illness is nightmares.
That's an aspect, and I feel like it's very meaningful when you succeed in controlling a nightmare, because it means more. It means you taking back the power.
Exactly. You're changing the narrative, and when you change narrative, a lot of people might say, okay, what happens when you change narrative in your dream? It's not even real. No, it changes the relationship
that you have
with yourself and with the world and with others. I don't know. I think people should care more about dreams and nightmares. And
true, definitely. But this is why in so many cultures dreams are so important. And in the West they don't teach you how that relationship is important. But if you look outside it, then you notice how seriously it's taken. And for instance, that's why in shamanic cultures, like those shamans, they take the dream world very importantly, because the whole concept is that as a shaman you can travel with your spirit, and this travel from souls to soul or element to element is also occurs in the dream world.
Yeah.
And so the messages of the dreams are to be taken seriously.
Definitely. I have actually a really good example about talking about shamans. I knew this girl in my first year of uni, and she was struggling a lot with I didn't know what it was back then, but she was struggling with so many things, drug addiction, blah blah. She was suffering, but she never talked about it. And then she got diagnosed with a whole bunch of things, but mostly PTSD and, you know, other illnesses. And she was in a mental hospital for a while, didn't work. She took meds, made her feel worse. Nothing helped her. She was like, the only thing that I know, like so far it helped me before she really solved herself, was yoga, movement. And this girl, besides yoga, she also found a shamanic healer. I really, really want to find one. I don't know where to find one. But that was the reason. She is now such a person. She just vibrates energy, you know, like you can see from her face, like it's not bad, it's not good, it just is. I don't know how to explain it. It's just her. And you can see the shine from her face. And she also told me, she suggested me to get a shamanic healer as well. Because I was like, okay, but how did it help you? Is it like therapy? Because I've been doing therapy for so long, and it's helping, but it's not really challenging my relationship with the universe, you know? So she was like, well, it really helps me, because what they did was they would just sit down with the healer, just talk about stuff, not even defining them, not even saying, yeah, this is bad, this is good, just like tell how it makes you feel with sounds, you know, with the specific sounds, with specific
healing sounds which are
yeah.
included in the podcast right now.
Yeah, and it's very much about you. It's not about what you're going through. It's about you and your relationship with whatever happened to you that's keeping you down, or, you know, has a traumatic experience.
But in a holistic way. So
yeah,
you understand
exactly.
how everything is connected. If you go see a doctor, they don't get this holistic notion. They just look at the symptoms, but not at the roots. So you can treat the symptoms, but if the root is still there, it might happen again, and probably will, and if you don't take into account your state of mind either.
Yeah.
It's not complete to me.
And about physical pain, that's also something that is so underrated. I've been having back problems for so long, for as long as I know myself, but recently it's been worse. Like I went to the doctor. They told me to have scoliosis, which is like some vertebral, you know, some spine issue. But I know it's not that. I know, because I know when that pain comes. The pain comes, especially it has, you know, on your back. It's either upper back or middle back. For me, my spine hurts, literally. I can feel my spine. And I went to so many doctors, like, oh, you have scoliosis, blah, blah. I went to a chiropractor. The first thing she asked me, she's like, okay, how you feeling? Like, what's happening in your inner world? And I was so shocked. I was like, no one asked me that before, because everyone just looks at my back. They're like, okay, take some meds. No, but that's not what happened. Like, she asked me, and I told her about my PTSD and all that. And then she's like, okay, that makes sense, you know? Like, of course you're going to have some spine issues. Every pain that you have in your body can, unless it's really medical, that's something else, but some physical pains in your body, they can mean so many things. For example, stomach ache, it can be anxiety, it can be fears, it can, like, not to be able to stomach something. It's actually literally that you cannot stomach it. With your back, it's like your core is hurting. So I know right now I'm having a blockage, you know. I know it's not a physical block, it's a mental,
energetical.
yes. I've been blocked for a while. And I know that affects my spine for sure, because as you said, spine is where everything is connected.
The main channel.
Yeah. And I did so many sessions in chiropractor. It's going better, but I know that's not the solution. I know the solution is mentally. Yeah, definitely. I can feel it. You know, the moment I treat myself better, the moment I feel better about myself, I don't feel my back. I don't focus on that, you know, I don't care about it. It's not my issue.
When you went to that person, she was like, how are you feeling?
Mm-hmm.
You feel that the person is seeing you and take into consideration your being, and is more humanistic in a way than when you go see the doctor, which feels very cold to me, and very clinical, and less organic.
Everything is connected, and this sounds super vague for some people. I can understand why, but it is. It is the truth. Everything is so connected. I don't know, like I also told you, I can sometimes assign a color to a person's aura, not all the time, but with some people, and that's also because we're completely made of energies, you know. And your energy is not something stable. You can control it, you can not control it, but you can be aware of it and channel it in different directions. And I'm still learning, honestly. I think you know this better than I do, but that's also so related to your physicality and mentality in the way you see things. And for some people it may be super, I don't know, bullshit, but it's true.
But through dreams you can connect to that realm, which is also nice. Yeah. Because once you get into that realm and connect with your consciousness, then you become more mindful about those energies, etc. And this is a language that becomes familiar. So that's why it's so cool that dreams can be bridges to so many topics and so many realizations about yourself and the universe. Yeah,
it's the bridge between you and the other realm.
Yeah, and it's something that everyone gets to experience.
Yeah, but I find it such a shame that not everyone cares about it, you know. And my dad, for example, he's been seeing a lot of nightmares, and he's like, yeah, it's because I'm stressed. Yeah, but probably true, but that's not it.
They keep on coming for a reason.
Yeah, you have it for a period of time, repetitively, for a reason. You don't get the message yet. You see it, but you don't take it yet.
But your subconscious wants to tell you.
Yeah.
Your higher self or whatever concepts.
Yeah, it's the same thing with bad things happening to you more than once, because you haven't really taken the lesson yet, you know. I've been, like, a very simple example of this, like, I lost my keys 10 times already this month, and it keeps on happening because I didn't really understand that I should keep my keys in the right place, you know. This is a really simple example, but it's really much like that. The universe is always sending you messages, but if you don't see it, you keep on getting them.
Yeah, we're talking about synchronicity, how those messages, everyone receives them, and it's whether you're aware of them or not, and then it makes sense to you. And then the more you're aware of that, the more you'll see synchronicities and stuff around you will talk to you. Just a simple fact, right now, like right before we started recording on the TV, the cover of the song that I was playing was Real Eyes, Realize, Realize. And I was thinking about this sentence yesterday, and I was like processing the concept, because that's also what I was thinking about you and how I feel people and put them in some mental boxes somehow, and that between the people that have some types of awareness of energies and universal phenomenon like this, you can recognize the ones that also do.
Definitely.
And so the fact that I'm here today and that this was playing on your TV is speaking to me.
Yeah, you can either see it or not see it, or not be willing to see it. I think it takes time. And I also understand people who don't want to see it, because I think it's scary for some people, you know, to see. But at the same time, it's so comforting to me, at least, because I know everything is regulated.
Keeps me connected.
Yeah.
Every time I see it.
I don't need to control things, because it's already happening, you know. I wasn't there when this started.
And you have to see it as a show made for you. Reality is a show made for you because you're the main character of your own reality, and this is the principle between, like behind the Truman Show. He's living his life, and everything is made according to him, but he doesn't know it. So he's the only like real one in bracket, but it's kind of the same within your life.
Yeah.
And it can be a dual metaphor. First metaphor for, which is why it's so powerful. The first metaphor is for society. Society wants you to behave a certain way, and you've been conditioned to act a certain way, and you don't realize it, so you're not free in the show because you're still playing the show. And once you realize, you can escape the game, which he does at the end. And also the bigger metaphor is that the show of reality is made for you, and the big guy is God, the universal consciousness, whatever. And once you I got lost. Once you're mindful of these, you understand those messages and how the show is made, and then you can create your own reality when you break free.
But that's the hardest thing.
Exactly. I don't want to make it sound like it's an easy thing as well, because you still have reality shit happening, and there is stuff in the world, and not everyone is in the position of doing these things. But still, it's still important.
It's the hardest thing though, to be aware, you know. That's the biggest, I don't know, I think it's the biggest pill to swallow. Be like, okay, you're not the center of the world, everything's happening at the same time, you know, everything's happening for a reason. And this doesn't mean you should just be like, okay, fuck it. But no, you have to be mindful. And I also realized if you don't connect with yourself, you get lost so easily. I didn't understand the concept of being connected with yourself.
That's very important. And also one of the reasons for so many things that happen in the world is that people don't know themselves. And they're not meant to know themselves. Because when they know themselves, they know their potential and their power, and then they're a danger to society. Sorry, I'm going there.
You think so?
Yes. Everything is made around you, not to connect within. That's true. You have distraction all around. The same thing as the clinical way. Clinical way is the modern way. And the connection with simple things as connection with nature. We live in the urban jungle, you know? We don't have the nature connection, animal connection, the connection to the spirit, to the dreams, as you were saying. We live in illusions, and once you go back within, you find yourself again. And as you were saying, you unlock stuff, you realize things, and this is what's dangerous to the status quo. And so you were saying that's really important.
No, this actually this is what I've been thinking as well. But
introspection, we were talking about introspection. I highlight this word. Introspection is amazing, and that's also something you can do through your dreams. Introspection.
But the problem is these things are always really, you know, hard to grasp for many people. I was like, honestly, I was one of them as well. I would always see these, you know, vast sentences on Instagram or social media. Be connected with yourself. What does that mean? You know, I never understood what it meant. It's like, what do you mean I'm me? Is there another version of me? What? I never understood it. And then I really wanted to learn more about it. I was like, okay, maybe I have no connection with myself. That's why I'm suffering. I was right. When you realize what it means, then everything comes easily. And I wish people would talk about what it means to be connected with yourself, then just be like, okay, be connected with yourself. Like how? There's so many ways. Meditation, you know, but I think the first step is to be honest with yourself. like so
and
many...
acknowledge the shadow parts as well.
Exactly.
You can't just focus on the light. You have to do the shadow work.
Exactly.
That's what you did through your drawing, so that's why I thought it was so cool.
Yeah. You can find your own ways, methods of doing that.
You want to explain what you did?
Yeah, with my paintings.
The paper usually.
Yeah. So this was like a psychological thing. My therapist told me to draw my inner world the way I want to. And since I'm really interested in psychological terms, I made like some modis. Modis are what you have developed in your brain to survive, and most of those things you don't need them anymore. So I drew myself in the middle, my inner child, because everyone has an inner child. That's also one of the things I didn't understand before. I was like, there's a child in me? What? Who is she? I don't know her. But now it makes sense, because when you're scared, it's the inner child being scared. When you're angry, it's your inner child being angry. You know, it's never... Your mature self is always mature. It's not real. It's just like a way of coping with things. So as I drew myself in the middle as an inner child, the first thing I did was to draw the child super sad, you know, super scared, unprotected, just vulnerable. And then I draw the rest, which is, you know, one of them is a healthy parent, the other one is punishing, demanding, and all the trauma reactions to how I live life. As I drew it, I realized this is how the dynamics are in my brain. This is how I cope with things, but this isn't really me. These are protection I put. Yeah, and that doesn't define you. It just, you're a child, you don't know how to deal with life's hardships, so you find your own ways to survive.
Coping mechanisms.
Yeah, for some people is you know, hiding, being introverted, and not showing who they really are because they're so scared of being hurt because they know they're vulnerable. For some people it's the opposite. For some people it's you put yourself out there too much, you allow your energy, you make people access your energy way too much that you lose your identity. And I've been in both terms, you know, I've been on both extremes, and I think that's when you deny what's happening in you and you identify yourself too much with the ways you've coped in life. And as soon as I draw that drawing, I realize, okay, this is not me. And then I draw me, who I really am. And that girl was outside. Like, she was not in that brain dynamic. She was outside, she was watching everything because she knows that she's wise, you know? She knows that there's a higher power over it all, and she has trust in the world. She has trust in the way things work. But I drew her outside because there's a filter that I've put on myself and the way I've seen world so much, because that's the way I've been surviving for so long. You know, that filter doesn't make you see people, see things the way they are. And as soon as you take off the filter, you see things as they are, and life becomes so easy, you know, life becomes so stupid. I don't know how to explain it. So simple. Like, it's not that hard in the end. You realize that it's like, okay, well, I don't have to do it that way. But of course, it doesn't happen overnight. I'm still working on it. I'm saying all these things, but I cannot access this wisdom all the time. It's there, but sometimes it gets blocked because of traumas, and you have so much baggage, especially if you've been through traumas as a child or recently, doesn't matter, but that makes you walk with 10, you know, baggages, like extra baggages, where you don't even realize that you have to carry them. That was my turning point in life, to realize I don't need them, because I believe that without them, without my mechanism, yeah, because you think without the way you cope with things, without your, let's say, like manipulation, getting things, you know, your way, that people have all kinds of coping mechanisms,
and it becomes a way of life.
Yeah, you think without them you cannot survive because you survived so far with those things, but the turning point for me was like, okay, well, what if I would throw that baggage? What would happen? I made myself believe that without them, I wouldn't be alive. You know, without them, nothing would go right, blah, blah. But I just tried it for a day. I was like, okay, let's not do it today. I'm just going to release. And nothing happened. Like, opposite, I felt more comfortable with who I am because I was true to who I am instead of playing someone else or trying to be someone that I'm not, you know? That was a turning point for me, and honestly, I'm still working on it. I think it's a lifelong path, especially if you have so much to resolve. But I'm happy that I know how to do it now, you know? Like, I'm getting there. I know I'm going to change. I know I'm going to be like...
Oh, and I'm proud of you for that work. Like,
yeah, it takes balls.
Yes.
Because it's so easy to be like, I'm happy. I'm fine, you know? Yeah, it's okay. I'm happy all the time. That's not feasible. That's not possible.
And that's not the goal either.
Yeah, you're lying to yourself.
The goal is to be whole, not to be happy all the time. Even if you feel something, feel that emotion, but be present in that moment, and don't let the things take over.
Yeah. Happiness is not a constant state of mind, you know?
No, it comes by drops, by things. It adds spice to life. It's fine, but it's not, you know?
Yeah, sometimes you gotta put some pepper, you gotta put some salt, sometimes, you know, other spices. That's what makes the meal a good meal, all kind of spices. If you just put salt all the time, great, but
there's no
what's the point? Yeah, like, what's the point of making food in the end, you know? Whoever listens to it, like, what the fuck? What do you mean? But I think it's really unrealistic for... I've been with someone like that in the past. They were like, yeah, happiness, I'm always happy. But no, you're using that as a shield to suppress all the other emotions that you're feeling. You are not allowing yourself to be vulnerable. And vulnerability is the biggest power I've ever had in my life. Like, being vulnerable, being able to cry in front of people, not everyone, but you know what I mean, just being able to open myself in a way that not everyone is able to do. For some people it's foolish, for some people it's weak, but it's the way.
To me it's strength. That's what the feeling I had just coming here, because you were able to be vulnerable in front of me, and we don't know each other, so that was... I felt this, and I appreciated it.
Yeah, I think it's so important for people to do, and I can see that in you as well, you know? Like, that's why I don't trust really easily, but sometimes I just have this feeling like, okay, I know you get it, you know? Like, I know I can trust, because I know you have the same trust and the same dynamics of the world, you know? And it's so... I grew up in a household where I didn't have enough space to be vulnerable. I never had the space to be vulnerable. I wasn't allowed to express my emotions. So I learned to repress them, and it became so... it was such a toxic... Yeah, it was such a toxic way of, you know, pretending to be happy and pretending to be... it takes so much energy. At the end of the day, I would come home and just, like, sleep for hours, because it takes so much energy to pretend to be something that you're not. But once you're vulnerable, once I opened up to my friends, once I told them my traumas, whatever makes me feel liberated, I just felt so strong, because it also made space for them to open up about stuff.
That's,
you know?
true. And also you remind yourself that it doesn't define you. Your trauma don't define you.
Yeah, exactly. I should stop saying my PTSD. That reminds me of that. Because it's really true, it's not me, you know? It's a state right now, a transition state. And honestly, I'm proud of having PTSD. Of course, I'm not saying it's the best thing as ever. No, it's hard, and I'm not taking that away. But it's, at the same time, it's one of the greatest things I've been through, because it has given me so much empathy towards other people, and has given me such a deep understanding of emotions, and to be able to understand other people's emotions, and, you know, making space for others to express without them even saying, you know, just like make that space. That's such a big power that not everyone has access to. And
I think that's amazing that you're able to take the lessons from traumas. Yeah, everything happens for a reason.
Yeah. It doesn't come easily.
It's not easy, but if you're able to understand what it brought you, that's amazing.
Yeah, but I'm not trying to make it seem like it was all easy, you know. I like whoever listens to this, I also want to talk about how hard it was. I'm
not like romanticize, because also with the social media age, it becomes a trend to have
depression.
That annoys me so much. This is not trendy to have PTSD. This is not cute to be depressed.
Definitely not.
And I understand as well that it's helpful for people to be able to make it more mainstream and to be able to cope with it by de-dramatizing it, but you also need to detach this from the fact that this is not something you can joke you have.
Yes, definitely. I also don't like when people are like, oh, that gave me PTSD. Yo, don't say it. It's like, you don't know how it is. Like, it's... But yeah, that's really true. And yeah, I was saying that I don't want to make it seem like one night I woke up and God talked to me and I was like, yes, this is it. No, it was a whole process of being honest with myself and you know, making space for emotions. I don't know, people make it seem like it's so easy, but it definitely wasn't, and still not, you know. Like, I have bad days too, but I have great days too, and I think that's how life is. You cannot be living that high serotonin all the time. Like, it's boring. You are boring if you're happy all the time as well. Like, don't you feel emotions? Don't you want to share them? That's how we grow together, no? Just to sit down and be like, yo, this really hurt me, man. Oh yeah, me too.
Acknowledge how you're feeling.
Yeah.
And surrender when you need to.
Yeah.
But as you were saying, vulnerability and expression, you also said before how art helps you with that.
Yeah. So, yeah, I told you this before. I think it's really interesting. I had a creative block, so I really liked
and I went through the same things so I could relate to
yeah, exactly. I just love that you can understand it, because but I had a creativity blockage, you know. I love singing, I love writing songs, I love painting, I love doing makeup, I love everything that I can put out, because it's the idea of leaving something behind is amazing to me. Just, you know, I can die, my body's temporary,
but your spirit stays in what you made.
Yeah, exactly. And the art that I put out is something that people can look and they understand how I felt, and like, it's not for people only, but it's just so personal as well. But I had a blockage for years. I could never write a song. I would sit down, I never understood it, what I was doing. I would quit it. I didn't play the piano for so long as well. Like, I just rejected it. And then I started feeling, you know, I started allowing myself to feel things. And then at first it was scary. At first I was like, I'm feeling so many things at once, because I see emotions as a fridge, and then there's a pie in the fridge, and the pie is, you know, fucked up. The pie is like, you know, rotten. And the day it's rotten, if you don't take it out, it's gonna fuck up all the other shit in the, you know, in the fridge, like all the other metaphor. Pies. Yeah. So if you don't take the pie at the right time, at the time that you see it's getting rotten, then other shit are gonna be affected by it too. And once you open the fridge, it's gonna be all in insects, you know, all I don't know what happens to fridges, but yeah, like that's a really good analogy of understanding how these things work. If you don't take the pie out at the right time, it's gonna be horrible. So I started to take the pie out at the right time. So I would feel an emotion, you know, I would feel, even if I used to be suicidal at some point, I would feel that emotion. Instead of being like, oh, I want to die, I would be like, okay, let's just, you know, express it. So I would get my canvas, or for me it was more makeup, canvases, like painting is recently something that I discovered, but I would do makeup, just like do whatever I feel. I would feel blue, okay, I would put blue eyeshadow, you know, crazy things. It was never about how it looks, it was more about how it makes me feels. Yeah. And that, I was like, I can do this on canvas too. I rejected the idea of canvas because I cannot paint girl, it's not about painting, it's about expressing, you know?
Yes.
And that really liberated me. I was like, okay, I can do whatever I want. I don't care if it looks good. Yeah. It's about letting it out, and then you let it out in a healthy way. You don't have to deal with it anymore. It comes back. It will come back, but it doesn't hurt anymore as much, because you know you can let it out when you want it, you know? You can't live in a stinky fridge. I was going to say something really interesting, but I forgot. I totally forgot. Well.
It's fine. Well, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for sharing all this. That was really, really interesting.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it will help other people.
I really hope.
That go through the same thing, or that don't and want to understand.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, definitely. But
yes.
I think the whole point of me doing this as well is to... I wish I heard a podcast like this, you know, at the time when I needed it, because I don't regret... My path is my path. I'm happy with the way everything unfolded. Like, that's not a problem. But if I had, like, some kind of, you know, something like this, it would really help me. I would be like, okay, well... other people go through this too, you know, it's not crazy, makes sense. So I hope people listen to this, and I hope people listen until the end. I've been talking.
They have to.
I've been talking.
That's amazing. So people, take out the pie. That's the
message. Take out the pie.
Take out the pie from the fridge.
Yes, that's it.
Thank you, fam.
Yes, love it.